After years of separation, the girl finally reunites with her boyfriend, only for him to lie and say that he is already married. But amidst her grief and disbelief, she notices a certain emptiness in his eyes. She instinctively waves her hand before his eyes as suspected. His gaze does not flinch in the slightest. Instead, he begins to reminisce about the happy times they once shared. To confirm her suspicion, the girl asks him how she looks at this very moment.
You look beautiful.
Yes.
Realizing his carefully crafted lie has been exposed, Junha stands up in a panic, desperate to escape. But in his darkness, he has long since lost his way. This film, which singer Lee Jian famously watched 17 times, remains just as poignant 22 years later. Every line and every frame resonate deeply, bringing viewers to tears at the exact same moments every time. With a high score 8.4 on Douban, the classic is hailed as one of the 21 most touching films in the world. It was a triumph in terms of critical acclaim, artistic quality, and commercial success. The story begins in the summer of 1968. Yohei, the daughter of a wealthy family, visits her grandfather in the countryside and is instantly captivated by the lush natural surroundings. Few local boys, frolicking by the pond, are mesmerized by her sudden radiant presence and cannot look away. His friend warns him not to be delusional. After all, she is the daughter of a high-ranking congressman. Caught in the throes of first love, he can't help but call out a greeting, and to his surprise, she responds with a gracious wave. This chance encounter ignited the innocent passions of their youth. She didn't mind the dung beetle, Junha, dug out from the cow manure at all. She even reached out to touch it. Looking at Johi's sweet face, Junha couldn't help but blush. Johi took the initiative, inviting Junha to explore the legendary haunted house with her. Faced with an invitation from the girl, he, like Junha, didn't hesitate for a second. He immediately agreed, and the two set a time and place to meet. As he turned to leave, Junha, suffocating tension, finally eased, and he felt a flutter in his heart, like never before. The next day, they met by the lake, as planned. Junha gallantly hipped Yohei onto the small boat. Despite the brief physical contact, Junha was already completely smitten. He was lost in the moment, yet remained nervous and quiet throughout the journey. While he was speechless, Ju shared many stories from her childhood. Junha kept a polite, gentle smile on his face the whole time. Before long, they reached the abandoned house. The desolate and silent atmosphere was chilling. Filled with curiosity, Juhi asked him what the ghost inside looked like.
Just bragging. Get ready, friend. They... Shushan? I actually have no idea. As they ventured further inside, they both slipped and tumbled to the ground together.
Junha quickly scrambled up and reached out to help Juhi, but at that moment, a figure flashed past behind them. Junha slowly stepped forward and pushed the door open. Seeing Junha's unusual behavior, Juhi grew even more curious, so she also mustered up her courage and slowly leaned in, wanting to see what was hidden inside. The moment they bumped into each other, they both burst into laughter over their own childish behavior. Amidst their joyful screams, they let their restless youth run free. It turned out the legendary haunted house was nothing more than a temporary shelter for vagrants. Just as they were still caught up in the thrill of their adventure, the sky suddenly opened up with a torrential downpour, and the boat they had arrived in was swept away by the gale. They had no choice but to brave the storm and head for home on foot. Unexpectedly, he tripped on the way, and the sharp pain made it impossible for her to go any further. Junha had to carry Juhi to a nearby melon shed for shelter. While taking cover, he thoughtfully wrung out his clothes for Juhi. This seemingly simple gesture was filled with his deep affection. To ease the post-rain humidity, Junha went into the field to pick a watermelon. Yohi was stunned by the rustic way he cracked open the melon. Having grown up in the city, she never imagined a watermelon could be eaten this way. She found herself increasingly captivated by this rugged boy before her. As night fell, their story began to glow under the starlit sky, radiating a brilliant light of its own. The fireflies by the river completely enchanted Juhi, saying how captivated she was by them. Junha went to great lengths to catch one for her After a few tries, he finally caught one of those little stars. The moment he placed it in her hand, the spark of love between them quietly began to glow. However, this moment of romance was not to last. Yohee's family soon tracked them down, perhaps sensing that this farewell might be a long one. Yohee took off her necklace and gave it to him as a keepsake. Then she was escorted away by the family servants. Meanwhile, Junha was cornered by Juhi's grandfather. On the bank, he was met with a stinging, forceful slap across the face and a harsh warning to remember his place. In the following days, their paths never crossed again. It seemed as though their destiny had reached its end. Then, one day, Junha's best friend, Tae-soo, came to see him, asking for his help to ghostwrite a letter. With that, he took out a photograph he was carrying. But the moment Junha's eyes fell upon the photo, he froze in shock. For the girl in the photo was none other than the one he yearned for day and night. Tae-soo mentioned that the two of them had never even met. Their engagement had been arranged by their parents, solely for the sake of family interests. Junha did not reveal that he already knew Johee, because deep down he harbored a secret desire of his own. Junha seized this rare opportunity to pour all his longing and love into every word he wrote. When Tae-soo praised his beautiful writing, only Junha knew the truth. Between those lines lay the yearning and regret he had suppressed for so long. Before long, Tae-soo received a reply with 2 concert tickets tucked inside the envelope. Excitedly, he dragged Junha along to watch the performance. When Juhi's silhouette appeared on the stage, Junha could no longer suppress the surge of emotion in his heart. He stood up abruptly, unable to contain himself, his eyes following her every move with deep affection. However, he did not notice Junha's burning gaze. Pulled by the classmate beside him, he sat back down, yet his eyes remained fixed on the radiant Juhee on stage. The piano piece she played was melodious and haunting, carrying an indefinable touch of melancholy. Perhaps only Junha could truly understand its meaning. As the curtain fell, he was like a dazzling star, shining brightly amidst the surrounding parents. Yet in a fleeting moment, as she turned her head, Yohee's gaze pierced through the bustling crowd. The scene freezes on Junha, holding a bouquet among the crowd. In an instant, an inexplicable surge of emotion welled up in his heart. Yet for now, he can only gaze at her from a distance. Their family status and social norms forced them to part ways once again. Likewise, Junha lacked the courage to step forward and give her the flowers. As he stood there alone, consumed by sorrow, with the flowers in his arms, he caught sight of Juhee. He running back to the concert hall alone. A look of joy lit up his face as he rushed toward Juhee, finding the concert hall completely empty. Yohee hurriedly turned back to look outside. And just like that, the two of them ran straight into each other's arms outside. At this moment, any words would have been redundant and hollow, for the faint smiles shared as their eyes met spoke more eloquently than any words in the world. Their profound longing and boundless love, like a gentle trickling stream, felt both tender and steadfast. Yohee accepted the bouquet from Junha. Since Yohee had slipped away in secret, her family was still waiting for her return. Despite the brevity of their meeting, Junha was so elated that he couldn't help but dance with joy. From that day on, the two began a secret correspondence. Torn between the girl etched into his heart and his lifelong best friend, he was caught in an agonizing position. Like an invisible chain, it trapped him in this relationship, leaving him paralyzed. Yet the love in his heart had already ignited into a fire that could never be extinguished. Soon, they had their third encounter at the school's social dance. Since Tae-soo was also there, they had to pretend to be strangers, but their stolen glances, conveying everything their hearts longed to say. Without a single word, they could hear the resonance of each other's heartbeats. Though they couldn't be together openly, this silent connection only drew their hearts closer together. Beautiful moments are often as fleeting as shooting stars. Watching Tae-soo escort Yohee away, Junha felt an inexplicable in his heart. Yet after Tae-soo politely said his goodbyes, Junha lingered by the entrance. At that moment, Johee wished so desperately that Junha would appear behind her. To her surprise, just as she was about to ring the doorbell, the porch light suddenly flickered out. She turned around instinctively, and there he was, that devoted boy, standing quietly under the streetlight. The light in Juhee's eyes ignited instantly in this moment. Even the dim yellow street lamps seemed exceptionally tender. The air was thick with a bittersweet romance. Time seemed to stand completely still. At that very second, only two hearts remained leaning on each other, in the deep of night. This is perhaps love in its purest, most original form. But reality is often far harsher than any script. A love divided by social status is destined to be fraught with hardship. Yohee's future was already shackled by her parents, even more unexpectedly. Kaize, who had been resisting the arranged marriage, actually began to develop genuine feelings for Juhee. He approached Juhee with flowers, earnestly confessing his heart to her. This left Juhee in deep turmoil, for her heart had long since been given to another. But the betrothal to Kaize was like an insurmountable wall. To prevent this love triangle from turning into a tragedy, Juhee steeled her heart and unilaterally called an end to it. Whenever the familiar signal light flickered in the darkness, she could only endure the agony within and force herself to look away. Yet Yunha, refusing to give up, sought her out in the pouring rain, trying to rekindle the dying embers of their love, only to be met with Juhee's cold rejection. Every word cut like a knife, piercing deep into his heart, shattering Junha's final sliver of hope. His heart, much like this heavy rain, felt cold and desolate, and his persistence and yearning for love slowly washed away in the freezing rain, leaving behind only devastation and a broken heart. Like a lost soul, he paced back and forth outside the door, staring at their secret signal, the flickering porch light. Just then, she approached him from behind.
I can't win, Mika. You should learn to walk that way.
Sing something, won't you? If you want to sing, who else can?
I'm a master. They'll crush you with their weight. They can kill you.
Hello?
Yohei wrenched her hand away and walked off in despair. Driven by his quest for happiness, a bold idea struck Junha. The next day, he went straight to his best friend, confessing everything about his relationship with Juhee. But as he revealed how deeply they loved one another, Kaize remained remarkably calm, for he had known their story from the very beginning.
I didn't think about what my grandmother asked me to buy. Look to the heavens.
Though the third wheel in this romance, Tashi, chose to step aside for them, unaware that this decision would nearly cost him his life. With his friend's blessing, the two were able to be together again. Even during winter break, they exchanged daily letters to soothe their longing. However, no secret remains hidden forever. Yohee's father soon grew suspicious, and word reached Kaize's family. Discovering the truth, his father was livid, unable to accept this sudden turn of events. It was no easy feat to secure a marriage alliance with a congressman's family, yet this rebellious son had the audacity to throw it all away. His father had already drawn the belt from his waist. Kaize had been terrified of his beatings since childhood, yet he found the courage to stand by this decision.
Sounds of physical struggle and shouting. I'll kill you, you little... How dare you? I'll beat you to death.
At that moment, while the two lovers were basking in their happiness, they were completely unaware of the looming danger and the drastic choice ahead. But facing his best friend, Kaize didn't mention what had happened over the winter break. Instead, he pulled off his belt, said in a trembling voice,
Take this, and please take care of her. Good luck.
He even urged Junha to take good care of Juhee. Junha was slightly bewildered by his friend's strange behavior. So, a moment later, he went to look for Kaize, only to witness a scene that would haunt him for the rest of his life.
I'm sorry for making things so hard for you. I'm so sorry.
To avoid betraying his friend without defying his father's wishes, Kaize felt that only by ending his life could everyone be set free. Fortunately, he was saved just in time. His life was spared, but he remained in a coma. Looking at his dear friend in the hospital bed, and Juhee, who was dissolved in tears, Junha suddenly felt like a sinner. His friend had risked his life to protect this love, yet he had driven everyone into a corner. This guilt was more painful than death itself. He realized with profound clarity that perhaps he was the one who needed to disappear. When Juhee looked back once more, Junha had already slipped away, leaving only their token of love, the necklace hanging on the doorknob. Juhee understood. What did this mean? It was a final resolute farewell from his beloved. He rushed onto the street frantically, but could not find a trace of her anywhere. Lost and forlorn, he wandered through the bustling crowds. His heart felt as if sliced by a blade, and tears would not stop flowing. That innocent and beautiful first love ultimately shattered against the harshness of reality. From then on, Junha seemed to vanish from the face of the earth, with no news of him to be found, until one day, much later, only upon meeting a recovered Taisu, did she learn that this foolish young man, to escape his heartbreak, had chosen to enlist and was about to be sent to a battlefield in a foreign land. On the crowded platform, he searched frantically for Junha, and by a twist of fate, she was fortunate enough to find him once again. The long-suppressed longing erupted completely at that very moment.
Get up! Get up!
Yohi's soulful and helpless cries struck like a hammer time and again against Junha's chest. He dared not face her or look back, only clenching his teeth, burying his emotions deep within. Yet Yohi's heart-rending sobs were like a sharp blade, ruthlessly cutting through his inner defenses. In that instant, Junha's heart felt as if it were being torn asunder, aching with unbearable pain.
I don't have to be right. Come on. So tell me, and I'll say some fates, but destined to end at the very moment they begin, and some emotions. Like the piercing of a blade, they are agonizing yet impossible to let go.
Clutching this keepsake, filled with longing, Junha swore a secret vow. If he returned alive, he would never fail this love again, no matter the cost. However, fate always seems to toy with them. During a heavy exchange of fire, his squad was driven back by the enemy. But just as they were retreating, Junha suddenly realized he had lost his necklace along the way. He braved a hail of bullets to venture back into the battlefield. Though he finally found the necklace while carrying a wounded comrade to safety, he was tragically struck down by an enemy shell. Even drenched in blood, his hand remained tightly clenched around that necklace, and years later, Junha finally returned home after being discharged from the army. He soon arranged to meet Juhi. The moment they were reunited, his eyes immediately welled up with tears, but Junha claimed that he was already married. To keep Juhi from seeing through his facade, Junha steward toward a piano doll sitting nearby.
What about this physics problem?
Take over the moon. Little did he know that the doll he had carefully placed beforehand had been moved to another table by a child. Watching this strange behavior, a sense of dread washed over Juhi. She instinctively waved her hand in front of his eyes, but he didn't even blink. Instead, he simply continued to reminisce about the happy times they once shared.
Yo! I am so sorry.
Mother Space under the candlelight must be filmed in another way.
And this rose-colored one, you don't have a boyfriend.
Realizing his deception had been cruelly exposed, Junha rose in haste, trying to leave unexpectedly. The path he had rehearsed 1,000 times in his mind now felt like a confusing maze. All he could feel was the presence of the woman he loved, still standing behind him. The overwhelming sorrow left Juhi breathless. She stepped forward and gently supported him.
And she said, "Would you buy me a video as well?" With trembling hands, Junha took out the necklace, intending to return it to her.
However, when Juhi took the necklace, she didn't take it back. Instead, with eyes full of love, she placed it around Junha's neck once more. This is more than just a necklace. It carries the weight of all their precious memories, serving as a witness to their once innocent and pure love. Years later, Juhi eventually married Taisu, as her family had arranged. However, the tears in her eyes, like glistening pearls, became forever etched into the frame of time. Those tears were more than just a trace of sorrow. They were an ocean of memories brimming with complex emotions. They held a deep longing for the beautiful days of the past and the lingering regret of a love that was never realized. Many years later, Juhi would often visit the lake where she first met Junha. By this time, she already had a child of her own, yet she still couldn't forget the starlit dreams of her youth. Just then, a voice from behind interrupted her thoughts. She slowly turned around to see several of Junha's comrades approaching carrying his funeral urn. His final wish before passing was for his ashes to be laid to rest in this very lake. But what brought Juhi even greater sorrow was learning that Junha had never actually been married. To avoid being a burden to her, he had spoken those heart-wrenching lies. It was only after learning of Juhi's marriage that he finally started a family of his own. In the end, he passed away in the quiet, endless darkness of his blindness. Afterward, his ashes were scattered over the lake, while Juhi wept uncontrollably, clutching the remains of her beloved Junha. Perhaps the story of their shared memories could only find its final resting place within this beautiful lake. At the end of the story, Juhi's daughter softly tells her boyfriend about this poignant tale of love. But as she finishes, she notices that her boyfriend's face is already drenched in tears. She assumes he is moved by the tragic twists of the story, feeling a touch of warmth in her heart. Not until he gently removes the necklace he is wearing, the very same keepsake from the story. At this moment, the circle of coincidence is finally complete. It turns out that her lover is none other than Junha's son. The meeting was like a deliberate orchestration of fate, a poetic redemption for the regrets of the previous generation. The path Junha and Juhi left unfinished winding through the decades has finally found its continuation in their children, bringing the story to a long-awaited close. That river, that rain, and that bridge have witnessed two romances transcending time. If love is destined by heaven, it turns heartache into a seed of beauty, to bloom anew in a different lifetime.